So, you want to own a dog poop pickup business. A bucket, a rake, a strong stomach. Sounds too easy, right? But before you laugh at the idea, a few questions worth sitting with. How does a man who started with less than $1,000 end up collecting $400,000 in a single month from poop? Why do private equity firms, the kind that buy plumbing chains and electrical franchises, now buy pooper-scooper brands? Why do professional scoopers photograph their customers' gates? And why is there a forensic DNA laboratory in Tennessee that receives thousands of samples of dog poop in the mail every single month and runs them through the same kind of genetic analysis the FBI uses on crime scenes? Hold that last image. We'll come back to it. Because by the end, you'll understand something strange about this industry. It found a way to make money from the people who pick up after their dogs and from the people who don't. Start with the scale of the problem, because most people have never done this math. 90 million dogs in the United States, each producing about 3/4 of a pound of waste a day. That's around 10 million tons a year. Lined up in tractor trailers, the convoy would stretch from Boston to Seattle. And this isn't just a mess. In 1991, the Environmental Protection Agency classified dog waste as an environmental pollutant, in the same category as oil and toxic chemicals. By the EPA's own estimate, 2 to 3 days of droppings from just 100 dogs is enough bacteria to temporarily close a bay, and every watershed around it, to swimming and shellfishing. 100 dogs. A single apartment complex has that. Here's the number that creates the industry. An estimated 40% of dog owners don't pick up after their pets, and a large share of the 60% who do pick up would pay almost anything not to. Now, the obvious question. If you start a company that picks up dog poop, what exactly are you selling? It's not labor. The work takes a few minutes per yard, and any teenager can do it. It's not equipment. The entire professional toolkit, a scooper, a bin, some bags, disinfectant, costs less than $100. It's not expertise. There is no license, no certification, no apprenticeship. Compare that to an electrician who needs thousands of supervised hours before touching your wiring. A scooper needs a rake and a working car. So if it's not labor, equipment, or skill, what's left? What's left is this. You are selling the permanent removal of a chore that people find disgusting on a subscription. The customer isn't paying $25 for a clean yard on Tuesday. They're paying $100 a month, every month, forever, so that a specific unpleasant thought never enters their head again. That's the actual product. Not cleaning, deletion. And once you see it that way, everything about how this industry works and where its money hides starts to make sense. The clearest proof is a man named William Milliken. In 2021, in the Pacific Northwest, Milliken's pregnant wife hired a local pooper-scooper service. The company was a mess. No uniforms, inconsistent visits, strange billing. Milliken looked at that and saw something most people wouldn't. Not a gross little side hustle, an immature industry with recurring revenue and unsophisticated competition. Before launching, his business partner, who didn't even own a dog, threw rocks around his own backyard and timed how long it took to sweep them up, just to estimate how long an average yard would take. That was the market research. Total startup investment, less than $1,000. In their first calendar year, the company, Swoop Scoop, generated over $260,000 in scooping revenue with more than 300 recurring customers. By 2026, they had crossed $400,000 in a single month, serving over 2,500 recurring clients across multiple states. From rocks in a backyard to a company generating millions a year, in 5 years, in an industry everyone else was embarrassed to enter. And remember that laboratory in Tennessee? We're getting closer. But here's what matters. Milliken's numbers aren't magic. They're arithmetic, and the arithmetic is worth walking through, because it reveals where this business is actually won and lost. The average client pays around $100 a month. One trained scooper, running a well-built route, can handle roughly 150 clients. That's $15,000 a month in revenue per person with a rake. Gross. Margins run around 50%. At scale, well-run operators target 30 to 40% net. Notice what's carrying all of that. Not the scooping, the root. The industry has a term for it, and it's the single most important phrase in this entire business. Root density. How close one customer's backyard sits to the next. If your 150 clients are scattered across a whole metro area, your scooper spends the day driving, burning fuel and payroll between jobs, and your margin evaporates on the highway. If those same 150 clients are packed into 3 adjacent suburbs, your scooper does 5 yards on one street without moving the truck. Same customers, same prices, same rake. One version of that map is a business. The other is an expensive hobby with a trailer hitch. In this industry, geography is the profit margin, which means the yard sign in a customer's lawn isn't decoration. Every neighbor who signs up doesn't just add revenue. They make every existing stop on that street more profitable. It's the rare business where your 100th customer can be worth more than your first. Now, the part nobody puts in the brochure. To run those routes, you send strangers through the side gates of hundreds of homes every week, often while nobody's home. That makes this something most people never realize. A trust business wearing rubber gloves. Erica Crouppen learned that the hard way. Crouppen was a pharmacy technician in Michigan who had tried dozens of jobs: bartending, aesthetics, hospital work. In August 2018, watching her pit bull squat in the backyard, she thought she'd pay good money never to deal with that again, and realized other people would too. The business name was already a family joke. Her husband's surname is Crouppen, so Crouppen's Poopin' Scoopin' it was. She registered it the next day, stuck magnets on her Chevy Cobalt, and started scooping before and after hospital shifts. By 2020, she'd quit her job. The business now brings in over $200,000 a year and cleans 305 backyards a week across Detroit's western suburbs. But the moment that defines her company had nothing to do with poop. An underperforming employee, sloppy work, unreliable attendance left a customer's gate open. 2 dogs escaped. Think about what that means in this business. The waste is worthless. The dog is priceless. One open gate can destroy years of reputation in an afternoon. Crouppen rebuilt her entire operation around that fact. Background checks for every hire, because scoopers hold access to homes. A grid pattern for every yard. And after every single visit, the customer receives a photograph of their securely closed gate. Scoopers even message clients when a dog's waste looks off. A runny pile can be the first sign of illness, which means the person your customer trusts with their dog's health data is, quietly, the poop guy. So the product is deletion of a chore, the profit is root density, and the currency is trust. That's the model. So why isn't everyone rich from it? Watch what happens every winter. Yards freeze, dogs go out less, and some customers quietly cancel. Because every subscriber knows, with perfect clarity, that they could do this themselves for free in 10 minutes a week. No one believes that about their plumber. When a household budget tightens, the poop service is the easiest line to cut. Your entire revenue base rests on people choosing comfort over 10 minutes of mild disgust, and you are always one recession away from finding out how deep that preference runs. And while you're worrying about your customers, someone else is watching your roots. $100 of equipment and a free Facebook page is the entire barrier to entry, so the door you walked through never closes behind you. Anyone can undercut you tomorrow, and in every growing market, someone does. The only durable defenses are the boring ones. Dense routes a newcomer can't match on cost, and a level of professionalism, uniforms, software, gate photos, background checks, that makes a guy with a bucket look like a gamble. Which makes what happened in February 2021 genuinely remarkable. In 1999, a couple in Virginia, Jacob and Susan D'Aniello, started picking up dog poop as a side business. They did every yard themselves and reinvested everything until they could quit their jobs. They called it duty calls. In 2004, they decided to franchise packaging routes, pricing, and systems into something a stranger could buy and run. 22 years after that first yard, Duty Calls was acquired by Authority Brands, a private equity-backed franchisor whose portfolio includes Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, Mr. Sparky Electrical, and 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning. Read that list again. Plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and dog poop. The people whose entire job is buying predictable cash flow looked at a pooper-scooper company and saw the same thing they see in a plumbing chain: recurring revenue, fragmented competition, and demand that never goes away. Today, Duty Calls operates in more than 80 territories across 26 states and scoops over 10 million deposits a year. The franchise itself costs roughly $36,000 to $53,000 to enter, which means the chore your neighbor won't do for free now has an institutional price tag. A man who started with a shovel in 1999 ended up selling his company into a portfolio alongside licensed master plumbers. That's the trajectory this industry offers, and almost nobody is watching. And now, back to that laboratory in Tennessee. Everything so far has been about the 60%, the owners who pick up or pay someone to. But remember the other number. 40% of dog owners walk away from the pile. For decades, that was unenforceable. You can't find what you can't prove. Then a company called Biopet Laboratories, through its service Pooprints, made it provable. Here's how it works. An apartment complex signs up, and every resident dog gets a cheek swab. The sample goes to the lab in Knoxville, where a genetic profile is built from 16 DNA markers, the same forensic logic used in criminal identification, and stored in a registry. Registration costs around $40 per dog. Then, when an unclaimed pile appears on the property, a manager scoops a nickel-sized sample into a stabilizing solution and mails it in. The lab matches it against every dog in the building and names the offender. Testing runs roughly $70 a sample, and the property recovers that instantly, because fines for a match typically run from $200 to $500. The lab has successfully pulled usable DNA from samples up to 2 years old. The service now operates in over 10,000 communities. Sit with the shape of that market for a second. One side of this industry charges $100 a month to people responsible enough to want the poop gone. The other side generates hundreds of dollars per incident from people irresponsible enough to leave it. The same pile of dog waste is monetized whether it's picked up or not. Almost no industry on earth manages that. The product was never the poop, and it was never really the cleaning either. The product is other people's aversion, their aversion to touching it, and their aversion to being caught leaving it. Both pay. Time to pull it all together and answer the actual question. How much money do you make if you do this right? 2 realistic versions of your company. Version 1, you stay solo. You build one dense route, 150 clients at $100 a month. That's $180,000 a year in revenue. Subtract fuel, insurance, disposal fees, scheduling software, and self-employment taxes, and you take home somewhere north of $100,000 for work that requires no degree, no license, and no boss. It is, dollar for dollar of startup capital, one of the best-paying jobs in America that nobody wants. Version 2, you scale like Milliken. Multiple trucks, hired scoopers at each handling their own 150 clients, an office, a customer service rep, commercial contracts with apartment complexes and homeowner associations. At 2,500 recurring clients, you're running roughly $3 million a year in revenue, and at a 30 to 40% margin, clearing around $1 million in profit. Annually. From dog poop. And when you're done, there's now a queue of franchisors and private equity buyers who have already decided your industry looks like plumbing. But strip away the scale and the acquisitions and the DNA lab, and the whole business collapses into one number, $25. That's what one visit costs the customer. For a few minutes of work, they could do themselves for free. The entire industry, the million-dollar operators, the private equity deals, the forensic laboratory, is built on the width of that gap between what a chore costs and what people will pay to never think about it. So yes, you can absolutely get rich picking up dog poop. Just understand what you'd really be for sale as. Not a cleaner. A guarantee that 90 million dogs remain, forever, somebody else's problem, yours.